Hi, I'm Rich Schirrmann. I made a video about tapping maple trees at my house. It wasn't really about tapping and how to do it. It was more of a historic walk. I've lived here 75 years roughly, give or take a couple. And I've watched things change. There used to be cows, and I explained it in the video. Cows used to browse, and there was hardly any woods here. There were hardly any deer here either in the early 1900s, if you can imagine that. But what I want to do today is just show you this piece of wood. This is not maple, but the reason I brought it, you can see this is the part of the tree that's actually growing. This is, they technically call the phloem and the xylem. You don't need to know these fancy words. This is where the sap goes up and down in the tree. The center part, and this is the reason I brought this. This is a piece of black cherry, but it's very distinct. This part is dead. All this is just support tissue. So when you tap a tree, we'll talk about this one over here, maple tree. All you need to do is drill into this living part. That's where the sap is flowing up and down. Today it's cloudy. It wasn't really that cold last night, so it hasn't moved that much. So this is how deep the spile. This is a spile. This is an older model. Now they make them out of plastic, but that's only how deep you have to go in. Maybe a little further. Now this is meant to have a bucket hung on here, and you'll see them hanging on trees. But in the video that I made before, I was saying it's like a garden. You know, you're looking out your window and, wow, we should have a garden. And 2 years go by, Daddy, we haven't made a garden. Well, we will next year. Same with tapping a maple tree. Just go out and do it. You don't need a big garden, just one tomato plant to start. Then get bigger next year. Same with tapping trees. You don't have to have 30 taps out there and boil it down. All you need is one tap and one maple tree. And we'll go over to that maple tree and explain a little more. But this, I'm going to leave this here and we'll just talk about this tree. If you took a shot from here, most of the branches are on the south side. Most of this tree, most of the sap therefore is running up the south side of this tree. The north side has fewer branches. Trees aren't stupid. They know that they get their energy from their sun. Why waste time putting branches where there's not as much sun? I don't think they're stupid. Tree. Here, this will be good. Some people ask if when you drill a hole into a tree, does it hurt the tree? Well, not really. They're used to getting beat up by the wind and they're pretty rugged. Here, this branch was cut and it's healing itself. Over here, something happened. I don't know what happened here, but this tree is also healing itself. And this is a good example. This is supportive tissue. This is the living part. It only is about maybe an inch and a half. So here's a maple tree. So if you were going to tap this tree, you would want to tap it on the south side. If you're working, most of this is for kids. They get excited about this sometimes more than adults. And what a good thing to do would be to take two thermometers. Put a thermometer on that side and one on this side, and you'd see the contrast in the temperature. And it's the warmth and the cooling that makes the tree expand and contract, and that causes the sap to rise. Which, when you think about it, it's essentially water, how can water go against gravity? Some of these trees are 100 feet tall. How can water travel against gravity? That's pretty remarkable. It has to do with the water molecules. They stick together. I talk a little bit about that in my video. Now, if you look at the tree here, You can see an indentation here and here. This is a major root coming down. There's some on the other side also. So when you tap a tree, you want to be above where the main root system is. It's here too. There's indentations, and that's not over a major root system. Let's get on this side real quick. Southwest side. Here's a good example. All these roots coming up here would be a great place to tap a tree. Now, if you're going to do this for the first time, I believe they sell spiles in True Value or maybe Tractor Supply. You can order them, I mentioned that. You can order them online. But you don't have to get fancy. You can take a regular pot that you make stew in. You don't need it to be fancy. And then I would recommend taking a garbage bag, clear, not scented. A clear garbage bag. Take the pot, put it on the ground. You can visualize it. Take the garbage bag and cover it completely, so it's like a top to it. Now, you'll have to get a drill. Make sure it's a size that doesn't take too much to figure it out. If it doesn't fit tight, you'll see the sap dripping out down the tree. But it's all about, you have to start somewhere. You have to start with that one tomato plant. You have to start with one tap. So you'll drill a hole. Try to drill it on a little angle, because this is all about gravity. So the sap will run down the tube into your pot, which is covered with a garbage bag. Some people have, they put maybe a 5-gallon plastic bucket on the ground. Wind comes along, blows it over. Put a rock on the top of it. They have lids. But to keep it simple, a pot about this big, drill a hole up here above that root. There's a good spot. Take the plastic tubing. You can pick this up very cheap in Beck's hardware store, and that's where I got this. Put it in, and then just a little hole on top of that plastic that's covering your pot. That just keeps all there's ants that are starting to come out now. Earlier the ants were out, but anything that gets in there, you can buy some cheesecloth at Beck's hardware store, and anything that falls in there, ants or leaves or whatever, you can strain it out very easily with cheesecloth. Plus you're going to be boiling this for a while anyway. I think 212 degrees is the boiling temperature of water, which is mainly what we're doing here. Now when you're boiling it, if you have this much in your pot, if you have a tall pot, you have this much in your pot, don't try to boil the whole thing all at once. Do a couple of inches at a time, and don't watch it, because they say a watch pot never boils. You have to watch it because you don't want it to boil over. But what you want to do, don't fill the whole pot up like this. Keep it low, add to it. If you do it in your house, it's going to be kind of a sticky, it's like when you cook bacon. You can smell that bacon all over the house. Same with boiling sugar sap. It'll go into your house. If you boiled enough, it would be sticky. You'd have a sticky kitchen. Like a sugar house. They have a really neat sweet smell because they boil a lot of sap there. So keep it low, boil it down, and you'll see it getting sweeter and thicker, and it'll turn browner and browner, more toward the color of maple syrup, because that's what it's becoming. And if you don't want to boil it down until you have actual maple syrup, just the fact that you boil it enough to taste the sweetness, and again have the kids around, and they'll get a big kick out of it. And then next year you want to do it some more, you know, you can always expand, do 2 buckets, boil it down. A good place to really boil it would be outside, maybe on a grill, or outside over, you have these little cookers, propane. Propane is very easy to regulate the heat. So that's basically what you'd like to do. Get started. I think that's it.